Hi, so a few people have asked for some tutorials to make items in Fusion 360 that are specific to, like a remote control crawler. So I'll start with doing something similar to a spotlight, like this one that I made a while back. So the easiest place to start is with the LED itself. So this is a 5mm LED. I didn't make this file, this came off GrabCAD, and pretty much all 5mm LEDs are the same kind of dimensions, so it's a good starting point. So I'll import the LED file into the document, and so I've got it there as a reference point for later. But if we hide that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just a rough idea of the housing. So I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane. We're going to start from the origin. We'll do a center rectangle, and we'll make that about 16mm squared ish. So you can see there's the LED just for scale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude the box. We can always change bits of this later on anyway, so let's make it a bit less than that, maybe 15. So I've got the solid to start with, and then we want to give it some shape. So I could have done this in the original sketch, but I'm just trying to do it as a simple way as possible. So it's just starting with a nice little block. I'll do another sketch on the block. Let's try and make it have some shape to it. I'll draw a line there. We're going to mirror all these things, so I only need to do this in one place. Right, so let's do a mirror of this, this, this in that line. And let's do a mirror of this, 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 and this in the horizontal axis. We could do with that cutout up here as well. So if I get some dimensions, do a mirror. Oops. In the horizontal, got those. And then we can extrude all these cutouts. It's got a little bit of shape to it now. And then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to start making the cone cutout for the light to sit in. So this is where it gets a bit trickier, and the easiest way I've found to do like the cones and things for the reflector is to use the revolve tool. And for the revolve tool to work, we have to split this body in half. Well, you don't have to, but it's easier. So if I go to modify split body, this is the body I'm going to split, and the tool I'm going to use, if I hide the body, is this plane that's on your origin here. So that one thing that we made is now 2. There. And this is where I can start to roughly position where I'm going to have the LED. So if I move the LED, I'm going to want the LED to sit around there. So we're going to need to have a cone shape that comes all the way down here to where the flange is of the LED. So I'm going to do a sketch on this inside face of the housing, capture the positions. I'm going to project onto my sketch. So project just gives you a rough sort of like, well, not rough, an exact location of where other things are. So if I hit P on the keyboard for project, I can click on this bit of the LED and this bit of the LED. So I've now got on my sketch all these points which are representative of where the LED is. And then I'm going to draw some lines. So here is the outside of the housing. So if I start around there, and I'm going to want to come down to where these meet, but I'm going to just go out a little bit to have a little bit of wiggle room for the LED when I'm installing it. So click there. Then I can hide the LED. I'm going to bring that down to there, to the midpoint. Click. Come to there. We don't need to, but draw a line there. So we've now got this shape here, which we're going to want to revolve around the x-axis. So when I finish the sketch, then do create, revolve, select the shape, and it's going to want to know what axis am I revolving around, and it's that one. Click that, and it does a revolve all the way around, and I've got it set to cut, so the revolve is going to cut into the existing body like that. Okay, so that's half of the housing at the moment. We're going to need to make the cutout next for the LED to actually slide into. So to do that, I'm going to do a sketch on the back, and I'm going to project the outer diameter of the LED. Okay, so that is now an exact 5mm hole on the back, but just, you know, to take into account any errors with when it gets 3D printed, I'm going to offset that 5mm just a little bit, so I've got a little bit of wiggle room for when the LED goes in, like that. And then I'm going to extrude the slightly bigger circle that I've made, hide the LED, cut through the body like that. There we've got half of the light housing. But the other half obviously hasn't had that revolved onto it. So I'll hide the other half, and then I'll create a mirror of this body, select the plane, in that plane, join, and it makes a mirror image of that, so we've got the full housing there. Yeah, so the 5mm LED could go in there, but the LED obviously has a flange on it, and we want that to sit inside the body as well. So I bring the body back, I'm going to do a sketch on the back of the body. I'm going to project the outer shape of the LED, because I want that to sit inside when the LED gets slid in. I just want the hole to be perfectly circular instead of having this notch on it. So we'll do it to there, and that's 6 mil. So if I make it 6.2, so it's just a bit bigger, 6.25 maybe. Hide the LED. And then we're going to extrude this. I'm going to cut. Cut in just a little bit, but it's a bit hard to know how far we should be going. So what I should have done before I did that was do inspect section analysis, and section analysis lets you sort of look through an object like that. So it's not actually cut it, made any permanent changes, but it's letting me look through the middle of something. Okay, so we pull that back. We're going to pull it back to that face. If we hide the LED, we'll just be sure it won't cut that. So there you go. I can turn the section analysis off. So you've now got a bigger hole that the LED will slide into, and the flange will rest against this surface, and that's where the LED will poke through. Okay. If you wanted, you could reduce this gap here a bit. So we could go to extrude this face, and just pull it in a little bit, makes the spotlight a little less bulky, like that. And then what we can do is we can add detail to it if we want. So what's the best way to do that? We could make a separate face on here, or like we did on here, we could make cutouts to give it ribs. So if I want to add some ribs on here, if I start with a sketch on the front, and then if I do an offset of this shape, so we go back about -0.7, so that means I'm going to be cutting -0.7 into the main body. And then for simplicity, if we do one that goes outwards about 1 millimeter, we've got this shape here, this out shape. And what I could do is I could extrude this shape. We make it 1 millimeter wide, thick, and instead of joining it to the existing body, I'm going to make a new body. And then we can move it, move a body. So I'll have the first one around there, and then create a rectangular pattern. I'm making a pattern of bodies, so you've got to select the body that you want to make a pattern of. The axis that we're moving it along is just any of them that go in this direction. We'll go back to there. How many do we want? Let's just see. Maybe that many? 6 of them. Okay. So you've got those, which doesn't look too bad, but what I was actually going to do was use these bodies as tools to cut into the main body. Okay, so I want to take these ribs away from the main body. So if I go to combine, the target body is this one. The tool bodies are all the ribs. What's the operation I want to do? I want to cut. If I press OK, there you go. So that's the original body, the main housing, that's now had all those extra shapes that we made taken away from it. What we could then do is just to give a little bit of detail to this front face. So if I round off this edge bit, so I press the F key for fillet, click on there, and you can just pull this in a bit and you get a rounded corner. Okay, so we'll add a bit more detail now to this face. So if I do a sketch on here, we'll do an offset here to sort of give like a little border. Okay, hit the Q button to do a press pull on this. Pull it out maybe 0.7 of a mil, and then if we hit F to do a fillet of that, and round off the corners. What's it going to let us do? There you go. That'll do. So you got some rounded edges, and then we're going to add some pretend bolts here. So if I do a sketch there, let's do a circle. I don't know, somewhere around here. You could add loads of geometry to get it super exact, but it's so small that no one's ever going to notice this. So let's make a bolt head right there. Let's add a hexagon inside to make like an Allen bolt, and then hit the Q button to do a press pull. I'm going to pull this out about 1 millimeter. It's okay to do a join. So we've got one, and then a different way to mirror that is we want to do a mirror. We're not going to mirror a body, we're going to mirror a feature. The feature is on your timeline, this extrude, and we're going to mirror it in that plane there, so you get another one, and then we need to mirror both of those again in this plane. So create a mirror. Again, we're mirroring features, and the features are these two, the original extrude and the mirror, and we're going to mirror it that plane. Okay, then we need to create some sort of plinth to let you screw this spotlight onto something. So we just hit save. So Fusion crashes a lot, so keep saving. So I'm going to do a sketch on the back. I'm going to make a rectangle along this axis, like that maybe. Do a press pull. Let's have it going to there, and we'll make that a new body. And let's sort of round some of the corners. So F for fillet. Click these two lines, the corners at the front, round those over like that. Should we do the back ones? We could do the back ones just a little. Like that. Hit OK. We've got a little plinth. It's maybe a bit too tall. So if we hit E for extrude, click that face, knock a couple of millimeters off, okay. And then we need to make a screw hole in here. So do a sketch, S, brings up my shortcuts, circle, let's do a circle there. At this point it doesn't matter what size I'm going to do, but say you want to do a 3mm threaded hole in the base to screw into, just do any circle, right? Doesn't matter the size at the moment. Hit the Q to do a press pull. How far up do you want it to go? I want it to go up a bit, but if we put on the analysis, you can make sure that you're not going to send your hole up too far. In fact, what I need to do before I do this is I need to combine these two bodies. So when I go to modify, combine, body 1 and body 9, it's on join, OK. Those two bodies now become one solid. So if you look at the analysis now, there's no funny wibbly line here, it's all one thing. So if I go back to this arbitrary circle that we just sketched out, extrude, click the circle, we can safely go well 7 or 8 millimeters without, you know, drilling through into the actual bucket of the light bar LED housing. So if we say 7 millimeters and it's on cut, OK, and we're looking at it with our analysis view on, so we're looking through the object, you've got that, and it's not threaded. So depending on what you're printing it in, you might want to create the threads. So I'm going to do create a thread. You click on the face of the cylinder hole that you've created, and you, over on this window, you can say what thread that you want to do. So for instance, if you want to do a M3 thread in there, you can change that to 3 millimeters. It makes the hole bigger to suit that size, and you can see the threads. Now if modelled is unticked, then the threads are not really there, and if you went to 3D print this, it wouldn't 3D print the threads. But I want modelled, so if I click that and hit OK, those threads are actually there in the STL file that we'll end up with that can be 3D printed. Yeah. So I'll turn analysis view off, and you can see them in there. So I could use an M3 bolt to go into there, or you could make it an M2.5 or an M2, whatever you want. So let's just leave it at that. And that is pretty much done, I think. So what I would do is I'd 3D print that. I'd export the STL file and I'd 3D print that on a resin printer, and then you could just slide in a 5mm LED, glue it in with some shoe goo or hot glue, whatever, and it'd be good to go. Now if you want to do that, you just, there's the body, right click on the body, save as mesh. I always have it at high quality, OK, and then you can export it as an STL file. And then I'd prime it, I'd spray the whole thing black, and then I'd use a Molotow chrome pen to make the inside of the bucket chrome. Maybe do the bolt heads chrome, you could even do the ribs chrome. If you wanted to do that in rendering, you could, so you get a decent idea of what it'll look like. So if I do A for appearance, you can search for chrome, faces, drag the chrome effect onto some of these faces. Powder coat rough blacks, just download that. I want to keep the chrome appearance that I've done to some of the faces. Okay. Let's make the bucket chrome. Okay. If you do an in-canvas render, it's not the best example for colours because it's a bit hard to see. There you go. Takes a bit of time to do the renders though, so let's just knock that off. That's it. Hope that was useful. It's the first one of these I've done. Maybe I'll make the file available, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, hope you like that. Cheers.